Hey, what's up guys? Today, I'll show you a horror comedy film, Little Monsters. Spoilers ahead, watch out and take care. The movie begins with a couple arguing over countless topics. The man, David, seems to be fighting over the smallest of issues with his girlfriend, and they don't even care whether they're in a private place or a public place. David is shown to be a struggling musician who plays music on the streets, but this is of no use as the cops tell him to take his smelly music elsewhere. Things get worse as the couple argues with each other once more during a dinner party with their family and friends. After all the drama, they finally decide to break up in an excessively dramatic fashion. Because of this, David ends up living with his sister, who is a nurse. He's woken up by his sister's son, Felix, who asks him to spend some time together. David isn't too keen on this, so he passes out while Felix plays violent video games on a VR set. David is woken up later by his sister, and he panics upon seeing Felix playing with the VR set because he has tons of hormone yoga videos on it. It's time for dinner, and David starts to hurl abuses because he hates what's on the menu. The sister explains that Felix has dairy issues and also has to use allergy pens to keep himself safe. She then asks David not to say bad words in front of Felix, even though he says his breakup is like a life-threatening condition. After a pointless argument, David goes away for some pizza because he's not allergic to cheese like Felix. Now, the sister reads a bedtime story to her son, and David overhears the conversation, so he feels lonely and emotional. This leads him to wake up Felix and make him dress in a Darth Vader costume. David plans on springing the surprise proposal upon his girlfriend, but when he enters her house, he sees her engaging in some naked hormone yoga with a bald lover. This makes David angry, so he tries to fight some hair off the bald man, but David is overpowered with ease and gets humiliated even though the bald man is the one with his clothes off. The girlfriend tells David to grow up from a chicken man and become a cowboy man, so he reluctantly walks away, feeling dejected. He also forgets Felix momentarily, but comes back to take him home. However, the sister is upset with David for exposing her son to his girlfriend's hormone yoga. She tells him to get out of her house, but he starts crying like a little chicken. Felix asks his mom to let David stay at home, so she eventually allows him to remain. However, David is made to take Felix to school, and he reluctantly does so. He lets Felix get a kiss from his girlfriend, and then he takes him to class. There we meet Felix's sexy teacher, Babe, who immediately appeals to David's hormone instincts. He tries flirting with her, but accidentally hits one of the kids in the process. David acts weird around Babe, especially when he shouts goodbye to Felix. Later, he goes to Babe with a new look, trying to impress her by talking about his band. However, Babe is very religious and looks at him with judgment. A parent arrives and tells Babe she won't be able to join her during an upcoming farm trip, but David voluntarily agrees to be her assistant and thus gets the chance to stay close to her. Later, the sister explains how to use the allergy pen to David and asks him why he's volunteering for Babe. He says it's because he's a nice person, but proves himself wrong when he roasts his smelly sausage to a picture of the sexy Babe. The next day, David joins Babe and the kids on a bus as they set out for the trip, but he doesn't like the fact that everyone is playing Taylor Swift songs. David is asked to play his guitar and sing a song, but he performs something highly controversial in front of the kids. Babe stops his bullshit before he crosses more boundaries, and then the group reaches the farm. Nearby is a top-secret U.S. testing facility where some soldiers are doing their daily rounds and talking about all the dangerous animals in Australia. However, they find a teammate who has turned into a zombie and is now eating a shitty scientist's smelly part. The soldiers try shooting at it, but they only manage to kill it with a headshot. The female soldier runs away to call for backup, but the dead scientist turns into a zombie and attacks the male soldier. An alert is sounded all over the facility, so a few of the other soldiers get to work and drive away in their vehicles while also crossing Babe's bus. The group reaches the farm, where a showman named Flashy makes a flashy introduction to the kids. He makes flirty conversation with Babe, trying to flex his muscles, but David doesn't like the look of this. Time passes by as the kids have a good time at the farm, but David doesn't enjoy anything about the exercise. He even whips himself in the face, but there are worse things to worry about as the US facility is overrun by zombies. The zombies make their way to the theme park and find a group of tourists who have no idea what they are. They try to pose with the zombies, but end up capturing some horrifying memories. Meanwhile, David learns that teacher Babe is engaged, and it renders his whole plan a waste of time. He joins her and the kids as they take a tractor trip around the area, but the driver has to stop when she spots a zombie eating an animal on the way. David gets into an argument with a little boy and says something inappropriate, so Babe has to take him away to teach him proper etiquette. As this happens, the zombie attacks and kills the driver, so Babe goes to stop it. The zombie shifts its focus to Babe, trying to make a zombie baby with her, and even a spade isn't enough to stop it. David goes back to the tractor, but struggles to start it, so Felix has to help him with the process. Everyone starts turning into zombies inside the farm, so Babe sticks her attacker zombie to a tree and puts a funny mask on him, so that the kids think he's a human in a costume. The group makes its way forward, but gets stopped when they spot a giant army of zombies all around them, feasting on cows and cowboys. Babe doesn't want the kids to panic, so she treats everything as if it's a game, and carefully leads the group away from the zombies. David has to fight some of the zombies to keep the kids safe, and an intense sequence follows. The group seemingly makes it to safety, but quickly spots the parking area to be infested with even more zombies. Babe changes her plan and looks for a hideout spot. She immediately finds a place, which has Flashy inside it, but he doesn't let her inside, possibly because she's too smelly. Flashy reveals himself to be a jerk who doesn't allow the kids to enter the hideout, even as the zombies come closer. Babe notices a small entrance for kids to whittle through to an adjoining room, so she makes them crawl inside while Flashy shouts at her. Babe is also able to squeeze her skinny body inside, but only after a zombie steals her bag. David fights off a couple of zombies and tries to find an escape, so he climbs up a water tank and thinks about playing his guitar. Realizing that the zombies are not death metal fans, David climbs up the roof of the hideout spot and breaks through it to land on top of Flashy, who isn't allowing Babe or her kids to come into his room. The two men get into fierce muscle wrestling, where they exchange blows and bites rather than hormones. But it's eventually David who comes out on top after scaring Flashy's face to distract him. David manages to let Babe and the kids enter the main room, after which we see one of the tourists from earlier. She has managed to survive the zombie attack and is looking for shelter now. However, she runs into some more zombies and is seemingly killed off-screen. Back to the group, Babe tries to keep the kids together, but Flashy says that everyone is going to die. He goes on to explain that his cameraman has been eaten, and even little kids have now turned into zombies. Babe tries to tell the kids that zombies only exist in video games, but Flashy continues to shout bad words and gets aggressive in front of Babe. This pushes her beyond her limits, so she threatens Flashy with a weapon and forces him to act cool in front of the kids. In the middle of this, David gives everyone some dairy chips, but Felix eats them as well, and his allergies start acting up. David tries to use Felix's allergy pen to cure him, but messes it up. Babe remembers that Felix's bag also has an allergy pen, so she decides to go back to the tractor. Babe makes the kids stick together with David while she goes out of the hideout and into the danger zone. She runs as fast as she can to avoid the zombies, while David does his best to keep Felix calm. Now, Babe picks up a shovel and starts fighting multiple zombies. She notices the masked zombie from earlier and chops his head off out of anger. She realizes that decapitation can kill the zombies for good and uses this chance to kill the zombies around her. Babe then finds the tractor, but it's filled with bags that all look the same. Luckily, she gets the right bag and rushes back to the group after killing more zombies. Babe arrives in the nick of time and saves Felix by using the allergy pen on him. Everyone celebrates, but Flashy hushes them because he can hear a helicopter. Under the misconception that it's there for him, Flashy goes up the roof to call out to the helicopter. However, it ignores him and he falls off the roof. Zombies approach Flashy, so he goes to Babe for help, but she doesn't open the door for him in an act of instant karma. However, David climbs up the roof and offers his hand to Flashy, who takes it and gets saved. There, he becomes overly emotional and reveals to David that he misused his fame in order to get laid by vulnerable moms. He even states that he shit his pants and tries to pull out one of his mini bottles, but he's run out of alcohol, much to his dismay. At night, the military figures out its next plan of action, while Babe sings a song to keep the kids at ease. Meanwhile, David's sister and the other parents want to get their kids back from the farm, but the army men don't let them pass through their perimeter. The sister tries calling David to get some inside information, but she goes straight to voicemail and becomes emotional. Now, David helps Felix's girlfriend go to sleep with a nice rhyme and finally learns to be more appreciative of children. Later, Flashy tries to get drunk off some shady bottles, while David and Babe get to know each other. David becomes emotional over his past and explains that his dad left him when he was a kid, so his sister had to take care of him. He also states that his ex-girlfriend has moved on from him with her bald lover, so Babe comforts him not using her tongue, but with an embarrassing stalker story from her own past. David learns that Babe is a fan of Taylor Hanson, not Swift, and it makes him fall for her even more. Babe also explains that she's not engaged anymore because her fiancé was cheating on her. However, she still wears her engagement ring to keep creepy dads from flirting with her. The next day, the army makes its move, and even David comes up with a plan to escape from the hideout. He wants to create a distraction using Flashy and get to the tractor. However, Flashy states that it's better to use his McGibble mobile, which will be a more viable option. Babe agrees with him, so he asks for a mouth session, but rightfully gets slapped for being creepy. The kids wake up after Flashy falls to the floor, and they become cranky. Babe isn't able to handle them, so David distracts the kids by playing a song dedicated to her. Now David gives Felix a hug for reassurance and sets out on his mission with Flashy. It kicks off a tense sequence as David makes some noise to keep the zombies at bay, while Flashy kills some zombie kids and awkwardly makes his way to the McGiggle mobile. He eventually gets inside the McGibble mobile, and David also reaches him, but Flashy locks the vehicle and tells David to get lost. Karma gets served once again when a hidden zombie shows up and kills Flashy in a brutal fashion. David climbs on top of the McGibble mobile and gets a call from his sister. He thanks her for everything she's done in an emotionally charged moment, but loses his phone and also has to fight the zombie inside the vehicle. Things get tricky, but then Felix escapes from the group while dressed up as Darth Vader. He manages to evade the zombies and makes his way to a baby goat, which is next to the tractor. In a hilarious sequence, Felix ends up rescuing David from the zombies by coming to the McGibble mobile while driving the tractor. Then they go to Babe and the group to rescue them as well. Everyone slowly makes an escape from the farm, and Babe plays some music for the kids. The zombies happen to respond to this music and even clap their hands whenever Babe tells them to. The group makes it to the army men, but they aren't allowed to pass because the captain fears that these survivors might be infected. Luckily, the captain spots the kids, so he lets the group through. David tells them to sing a song to the zombies, but the army men unleash a brutal attack with their guns and weapons. The fighter jets also drop a bomb on the area to destroy all traces of the zombie virus. Babe and David finally tongue massage each other, but the group gets taken away by some army men for quarantine and study purposes. Later, the captain meets David's sister and the other parents to reassure them that everyone has survived the ordeal, and it's all thanks to David and Babe. The movie ends with the parents looking at the group singing songs together while being assessed under quarantine conditions. This is Daniel CC Movie Channel. Stay safe and enjoy your day.